Good morning. It is 11:14 a.m. on Saturday, May 28th, 2022. I'm Christiana Ellis and I've been up for a while. This is 5 more minutes. I don't know, I was just not feeling especially verbal for a while this morning, just kind of being a little bit of a cave troll to myself. Walking around with the lights off and I made some breakfast for myself. I got a little jalapeno from my Aero Garden and some leftover beef satay from Indian Delivery and no, Thai. It was from a Thai place. Actually, is beef satay? I don't know where's the origin of that. Anyway, some of that and scrambled that up with some eggs and pretty good. Pretty good. But yeah, I've just kind of been poking around and avoiding recording this for whatever reason. I don't know. I guess, making my brain actually form coherent sentences seemed like a task I wasn't ready for. Yeah, I'm still dealing with some lingering symptoms, which I guess it was unreal. I've talked about this. It was probably unrealistic expectations for me to just assume that, so what the Paxlovid did was reduce the severity of my symptoms dramatically. However, it did not reduce them to zero, and I guess it was unrealistic for me to. It happened so quickly that it got better that I kind of maybe thought that trend would continue instead of it just being like turning down the volume knob and then having it just stay at that lower level. Anyway, so I'm feeling like substantially better, just not all the way better and not quite enough better for me to feel like, oh, okay, I'm good to go now. But what are you going to do? It's just like, have to, you know, control the things you can and try to be at peace with the things you can't. So, yesterday was the release of the first 2 episodes of the Obi-Wan Kenobi show, Star Wars show, and I really liked it. Um, I'll try to avoid any spoilers here just for people who haven't had a chance to watch them yet, other than to just say I, I have talked in the past about how I want, in general, for Star Wars to stop just trying to fill in all the gaps in the known story, and I would rather they try to move forward and not necessarily have to have everything connect to 50 other things that happened already. For that matter, even though I feel like the Cassian Andor show, again, it's like I'm not, I don't feel compelled by that guy's story because we kind of know it already, really. But that said, if the story takes us into new places that we haven't been before, meets lots of characters, tells us little kinds of stories that we haven't seen before, then I'll like that element of it. I just don't want them to constantly try to sew everything up into this little impermeable little ball. But I do like, so far, the Obi-Wan Kenobi show. I knew that I would like Ewan in the role because he's great. But I have been pleased with other elements of it as well. And I guess because I don't want to get into spoilers yet, I'll leave it there. The other thing that I watched last night, other than continuing to play Horizon Forbidden West and continuing to enjoy that, is The Evil Dead. Now, Mike and I, for our next set of films on Watching 100 Movies, we've decided to dig into the filmography of Sam Raimi. And what we picked a couple of his movies to be like, definitely we're watching these, and then watch some other ones if you want. And one of the ones that we picked to definitely watch was Evil Dead 2. And what I even said on the podcast was, you don't need to watch The Evil Dead. It's interesting, but 2 is the one that's actually good. And 1 is kind of interesting in the potential it shows, but you can skip it. And I still think that's largely true, but I did decide to rewatch it last night, and it's kind of better than I remember. It's still kind of crazy low budget, but again, and when I say like the potential that it shows, what's kind of incredible about it is just thinking about how low the budget must have been, but also that we're talking about like a 20-year-old director here, and the movie that he managed to pull out of shoestrings and candle wax, um, is pretty incredible, all things considered. Um, and two, I think, is even better because one has a couple of tiny hints of the sort of humor that will creep into the franchise with two, but mostly it's a scary horror movie. Whereas two becomes this horror comedy thing, which I think is all the better just because there's like nothing else like it. And it's incredible. But I feel like it was worth revisiting the first one again to just remember that it's not only interesting for showing the potential that would be fully realized in two, but that it's actually pretty good in its own right. Anyway, I'll leave it there for now, and I will talk to you all tomorrow for 5 more minutes.